I strongly encourage you to do that, Kash. This issue's not going to go away. And I think the central question for the American people is this. They know that Epstein trafficked young women for sex to himself. They want to know who, if anyone else, he trafficked these young women to. And that's a very fair question. I want to know that answer. And I think you're going to have to do more to satisfy the American people.
Why is it that every time the FBI gets caught in corruption, the people responsible get rewarded instead of punished? It's one of the most explosive and frustrating ones I've seen in a long time. We've got the FBI director up there being questioned about everything from political assassinations to Peter Strzok and Lisa Page to the Epstein files, and what came out today ought to make every American furious. This is The Prodigy Unfiltered.
I asked you this last time you were here. Kash, you remember Mr. Peter Strzok and Ms. Lisa Page?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Strzok was an FBI agent. Ms. Page was an FBI lawyer. They were both very aggressive anti-Trump political activists who allowed their political opinions to affect their work at the FBI. Is that a fair statement?
I believe their text messages and their testimony that was secured by the OIG and DOJ speak for themselves.
In fact, Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page were having an extramarital affair, and at one point, Ms. Page texted Mr. Strzok, quote, "Trump's not ever going to be president, right? Right?" And Mr. Strzok replied, "No, he won't. We will stop it," end quote. Ms. Page resigned from the FBI. Mr. Strzok was fired. They promptly sued the federal government and the FBI and Justice Department for releasing their emails, which revealed all of this. The FBI settled that lawsuit for $1.2 million, gave Mr. Strzok $1.2 million cash, gave Ms. Page, who resigned. She wasn't fired, she resigned, she quit. Gave her $800,000. Who, if the FBI made that decision to give them money?
That settlement was reached in the Biden administration when my predecessor was the director.
Who? Are you saying that Chris Wray did?
The only people that can decide that settlement are the Attorney General in conjunction with the director and the administration.
Okay, so you're telling me that Attorney General Garland and Director Wray decided to give them the money. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you took over the FBI, did you find instances of where under the Biden administration the FBI had weaponized the agency to push the political beliefs of President Biden?
Sorry, the last part.
When you took over the FBI, did you find instances of where the Biden administration had politicized the FBI to prosecute its political agenda?
Well, I won't speak for other people. Haven't been a target of that weaponization, haven't been a staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, having had the Justice Department weaponized against me for making the findings and leading the investigation of Russiagate. I know what that feels like, and that's why as the FBI director, I'm committing to not ever have that ever happen again, but I'm also committed to fully investigating what was done, and that matter is still ongoing.
So I assume, I take it your answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
And you're firing those people, is that right?
Anyone that politicizes their job at the FBI will not work at the FBI.
Okay. You've heard some of my colleagues either implicitly or otherwise suggest that you have politicized the FBI to prosecute the political beliefs of President Trump. Is that true?
I don't know how that can be true when the stats that I cited, to include the 23,000 arrests, 6,000 weapons seized, 1,600 gang and criminal enterprise organizations, 4,700 children found and rescued, more enough fentanyl seized to kill a third of America. The men and women of the FBI are now on an apolitical mission, and this is why the numbers are historic in 7
Have you
months.
fired people because they voted for Vice President Harris?
I don't ask people who they vote for, and neither does the FBI.
Okay. But you've given people polygraphs, have you not?
Many people in the FBI take polys.
The FBI does that all the time.
Yes, sir.
Does it not?
Yes,
For
sir.
a long time, is that correct?
Decades.
All right. I want to ask you about the Epstein files. Have you seen the Epstein files?
I have not reviewed the entirety of it myself, but a good amount.
Would it be fair to say that Mr. Epstein trafficked young women, including, in some instances, minors, for sex to himself?
That was specifically the allegations in the 2018 indictment in the Southern District of New York.
Okay. Who else did he traffic these young women to?
In terms of what the investigation, again, going back to 2008, Mr. Acosta, who limited the investigation and limited the search warrants and limited the parameters of the investigation, the only thing we are able to speak to publicly, because he was given a non-prosecution agreement by Mr. Acosta, is that first time period from, I believe, don't quote me on this, 97 to 2001-ish. And then when the Trump administration courageously reopened it.
Ash, excuse me for interrupting, but I'm going to run out of time. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one
For the information that we have
in the files.
in the case file.
Okay. Now, President Trump has deferred to the FBI and the Department of Justice with respect to the Epstein records. He says it is your call about releasing them. And I understand that the department and the agency have decided to release them in cooperation with the House committee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're releasing them a little bit at a time. Is that correct?
We're releasing as much as we can, but we are limited by 3 different court orders, and the department went back to each of those judges to waive those court orders or have them lifted, and each of those judges declined.
Will you release all of them, or at least as many as you can?
We will release everything we are legally permitted to do so. We are continuing to work with the House on the subpoena request. We have substantially complied with it, but we will continue to release whatever we are legally permitted to do so.
Okay. I strongly encourage you to do that. Kash, this issue's not going to go away. And I think the central question for the American people is this. They know that Epstein trafficked young women for sex to himself. They want to know who, if anyone else, he trafficked these young women to. And that's a very fair question. I want to know that answer. And I think you're going to have to do more to satisfy the American people's understandable curiosity in that regard.
Mr. Chairman, may I just respond to that? I agree, Senator. And what we have done, and just to remind folks, the Epstein case files existed in the 2 prior administrations, in the Obama administration and the Biden administration, and they didn't release anything. And there was President Trump in the first administration that renewed charges against Mr. Epstein. And I know it's a little complicated to understand, but what exists in the Epstein case files was a direct result of the limited search warrants from 2006 and 7, which hamstrung future investigations because of the non-prosecution agreement. And multiple administrations had the opportunity to look at the entirety of that case file and recommend prosecutions against anyone that was trafficked under Mr. Epstein and anyone that participated in that trafficking. And the only person to bring charges was the prior administration against Mr. Epstein. Now, I am not saying that others were not trafficked and others were not involved. What I am telling you is that based on the information we have, and we have continuously and publicly asked for the public to come forward with more information. If there is, we'll look at it. But based on credible information, we have released all credible information, and the information that the Department of Justice and the FBI never releases is information on investigations that are not credible. And we don't release the names of victims who weren't credible, but in the same time, we don't release the names of victims who were credible. And so that's by law. And so the information we are releasing now is historic, and it is also to the maximum capacity that the law allows. And I know that's not going to satisfy many, many, many people. But if they wanted it done right, then the investigation from its origination should have been done right, and he should not have been given a get-out-of-jail-free card to do jail on the weekends for 12 hours a day, and he should have been investigated fully for the entirety of his crime and criminal enterprise, not just from 1997 to 2001.
Now listen, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, the truth is the truth, and the truth is this. The FBI has been weaponized, plain and simple. And they're still trying to cover it up. First off, let's give credit where credit is due. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah, the FBI, working with state and local law enforcement, found the suspect in 33 hours. 33 hours. That's fast, and that's how it should be. Same thing in Minnesota back in June, when Representative Melissa Hoffman and her family were assassinated. Suspect caught within 48 hours. So, yeah, that shows the FBI can do its job when it wants to. But here's the problem. We're already hearing this might not have been a lone wolf. The director even admitted that others could have been involved, and they're investigating chat rooms. Now let me ask you, folks. Who's in these chat rooms? Who's funding them? Who's encouraging this violence against conservatives and Republicans? Because let's be real here, the targets always seem to be on the right. Then we get into the part that really made my blood boil. Remember Peter Strzok and Lisa Page? The two anti-Trump lovebirds in the FBI who were caught saying, "We will stop Trump," while they were supposed to be investigating him? Yeah, those two. Well, guess what? They sued the government, and under Biden's DOJ and Chris Wray's FBI, they got paid. Peter Strzok, fired from the FBI, walked away with $1.2 million of taxpayer money. Lisa Page, who wasn't even fired, she quit, got $800,000. Let me repeat that. They plotted against a sitting U.S. president. They got exposed, they sued, and instead of being disgraced, they got rewarded with millions of your dollars. And who approved it? Garland and Wray. That's right. Merrick Garland and Chris Wray cut the check. So the same people who turned the FBI into a political hit squad against Trump also gave golden parachutes to the very agents who were texting about how they'd stop him. If that doesn't make you sick, I don't know what will. Now, the senator asked a straight-up question. When you took over the FBI, did you find evidence that Biden's administration had weaponized it? The director basically said yes. He admitted it, said he's lived it, said it happened to him, and said he's firing anyone who politicizes their job. Well, that's fine and good, but the damage has already been done. For years, the FBI has been used like a political weapon, going after Trump, his allies, his staff, his supporters, while turning a blind eye to the Biden family corruption, Hillary Clinton's server, the whole 9 yards. If the FBI wants to claim it's apolitical, then prove it. Prove it by going after Democrats with the same energy you go after Trump supporters. And don't give me stats about how many fentanyl seizures or how many kids you rescued. Good work, yes, but it doesn't erase the fact that the Bureau was turned into Biden's personal police force. And then, of course, Epstein. Oh boy, this one gets me fired up. The director admitted he's read a good amount of the Epstein files. And when asked the basic question, who did Epstein traffic girls to besides himself, the answer was no one. That's right, they're telling us that according to the official files, Epstein trafficked all these women and minors to himself. Nobody else. Give me a break. Everyone in America knows Epstein wasn't running a one-man operation. Everyone knows powerful politicians, billionaires, celebrities, people with influence were part of it. But here's the kicker. Those files are limited. Why? Because back in 2008, Epstein was given a sweetheart deal, thanks to Alex Acosta, that tied investigators' hands. So by the time Trump's administration reopened the case, the paper trail had already been scrubbed clean. Now the director says they'll release everything they legally can. But court orders are stopping them from releasing all of it. And guess what? Those court orders were upheld under Obama, under Biden, and under Bush. The only administration that actually reopened the Epstein case was Trump's. So here's the bottom line. The truth about Epstein is being buried, not because it doesn't exist, but because it implicates people in high places. And until all of it is released, the American people will never get the full story. So, what do we have here? Assassinations of conservatives, handled fast, but possibly bigger than they're letting on. Anti-Trump FBI officials, rewarded with millions of taxpayer dollars. The FBI itself, politicized and weaponized, with the director basically admitting it. And Epstein, the biggest cover-up of our time, with files that conveniently say he trafficked to no one. Folks, this is why trust in the FBI and DOJ is at rock bottom. This is why patriots like you and me are fed up with the deep state. And this is why President Trump was right when he said we need to drain the swamp, clean house, and hold these people accountable. Because here's the truth. Justice in America shouldn't depend on who you vote for. It shouldn't depend on whether the media likes you. It shouldn't depend on whether you're part of the club. Justice is supposed to be blind. But right now, it's not blind, it's political. And until that changes, until we get full transparency on Epstein, accountability for Strzok and Page, and a complete end to the FBI being used as Biden's political weapon, we're going to keep on calling it out. Because this is our country, not theirs. What do you think, folks? Do you believe the FBI when they say Epstein trafficked only to himself? Do you think Strzok and Page deserved million-dollar payouts? Or do you see this for what it is, corruption at the highest levels of government? Sound off in the comments. I want to hear what you think. This is Prodigy Unfiltered. Like, share, subscribe, and stay in the fight. God bless America.